Be me, 29, working as a culture and inclusion coordinator at a tech startup in Austin. I know what you're thinking. Yes, that's actually my job title. I got it about 18 months ago when the company decided they needed to prioritize diversity. I have a gender studies degree and spent 3 years at a feminist nonprofit before this, making maybe $38,000. This job pays $75,000. I thought I'd change tech from the inside. My nemesis is Jake. Lead developer, been here 4 years, one of those quiet engineer types who barely makes eye contact. For months, he's been excluding me, skipping me on technical meetings, giving me short answers in Slack, questioning my initiatives in front of the team. The breaking point came 2 weeks ago. I'd rolled out a mandatory equality training program. Took me 3 weeks to put together. Okay, I mostly adapted slides from another company. But still. In the team stand-up, Jake raised his hand. Why is this taking priority over sprinting our deadlines? And the completion rate is sitting at 12%. The room went quiet. I felt my face get hot. Because diversity is important, Jake. Some of us care about making this workplace inclusive. I'm just asking about the ROI and why it's mandatory if people aren't finding it relevant. That condescending tone. That subtle implication that my work doesn't matter. I've dealt with this my whole career. Men dismissing work they don't understand. I filed an HR complaint that afternoon. Hostile work environment, pattern of dismissive behavior, mansplaining. I had examples. The time he explained coding stuff to me, I never asked. The meetings he didn't invite me to, his tone in emails. HR took it seriously. Michelle, the HR director, launched a full investigation. Finally, someone was listening. The mediation happened on a Thursday. Me, Jake, Michelle, my manager Karen. I walked in, feeling vindicated. Jake brought a folder. He opened it calmly, methodically, like he was debugging code. These are email chains showing Sarah was invited to every technical architecture meeting for the past 6 months. He slid printouts across the table. She declined 82% of them, most with not relevant to my role. My stomach dropped. This is data on the bias training completion and feedback, 12% completion rate. The feedback mentions that the content was generic and not customized to our industry. Several people noted the slides had another company's logo on page 6. Shit. I'd missed that. These are Sarah's deliverables over 6 months. 3 blog posts, 1 lunch, and learn that 5 people attended, and 2 training modules with the completion rates mentioned. Michelle was taking notes, not looking at me sympathetically anymore. And these, he pulled out screenshots, are from a private Slack channel Sarah runs. I received these anonymously, my private channel, where I vented with other women in the office. The messages were there in black and white. Jake is literally the embodiment of mediocre white guys failing upward. Tim asked me to clarify my training objectives, like I need to justify my work to a 25-year-old code monkey. These men are so freaking fragile, can't handle a woman in leadership. Sarah. Michelle's voice was careful. Can you respond to this? My mouth was dry. Those messages were taken out of context. I was venting to friends. This feels like retaliation for speaking up. Michelle's pen stopped moving. She looked at Jake, then back at me. Sarah, these are direct quotes about your colleagues. In what context is calling someone a code monkey appropriate workplace communication? It was a private channel. A private channel you created on company Slack, Karen said quietly. Her first words since we sat down. With other employees. I felt my face burning. I didn't mean they weren't supposed to... Jake, Michelle said, did you decline to be included in any meetings with Sarah? No. I invited her to every relevant technical discussion. I included her in architecture decisions that affected her diversity metrics. She said they weren't relevant to her role. Michelle looked at me. Is that accurate? I tried to remember. I'd declined a lot of meetings. They were always during times I had other things to do. Some of them overlapped with the calendar invites show most were scheduled during your stated working hours with no conflicts, Jake said. Still calm, still factual. I had nothing. No defense that didn't sound like an excuse. Karen was looking at me differently now, like she was seeing me for the first time, or maybe seeing clearly what had been there all along. Michelle closed a folder. We'll complete our investigation. But I could hear the period at the end of that sentence. The decision was already made. 1 week later, I was placed on a 30-day performance improvement plan. Jake received a written acknowledgement from HR clearing him, and my manager asked me to apologize. Karen started CCing HR on every email to me. I went home and told Leon, my boyfriend of 2 years. He works in finance, usually patient, but lately he's been distant. They're protecting him, I said. It's a boys' club. Leon was quiet for a long time. Did you actually decline those meetings? They weren't relevant. Sarah, he had receipts. I didn't want to hear it. Not from him, too. 2 weeks after the mediation, the office felt different. Male colleagues kept conversations brief. Work topics only. They always had someone else present. Literally, no one would talk to me alone. Tim held the door open with his backpack when I walked into a conference room to ask a question, like he needed an escape route. The team used to invite me to lunch. I usually said no, too busy, or I had other plans. But they asked. Now? Nothing. I mentioned it to Amy, another woman in product. Have you noticed the guys being weird? She looked uncomfortable. They're probably just stressed about the product launch. At a Friday happy hour, the dev team was loose and laughing at a corner table. I grabbed a drink and walked over. The conversation stopped, like someone had hit pause. Hey Sarah, Marcus said, too polite, too careful. What are we talking about? Just work stuff, sprint planning. The energy was dead. I finished my drink and left early. Walking past the bar area, I heard voices I recognized. Tim and Marcus. Think they're being quiet. Just don't be alone with her, man. Did you see what happened to Jake? I know. I literally keep my office door open if she's even in the hallway. I stopped, turned around. Excuse me? They went pale. We were just, Tim stammered. You're scared of me? Are you freaking serious? No, we just meant... Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. I didn't let them finish, stormed past them, out into the parking lot. Sat in my car for 10 minutes, hands shaking on the wheel. Through the window, I could see them back at the bar. Tim was running his hands through his hair. Marcus was talking fast, animated, probably panicking about what I'd do next. Good. They should be scared, but as I drove home, I passed a group from the office heading to dinner. I recognized some of the women from the marketing team. They were laughing with guys from sales. Normal? Easy? No one looked tense. Why was I the only one they treated like a threat? I pushed the thought away. I knew why. Because I spoke up. Because I called out bad behavior. Because I refused to stay silent. At home, Leon was on the couch with his laptop. I unloaded everything. The cold shoulders, the careful distance, Tim and Marcus's conversation. They're scared of women now, I said. This is what sexism looks like. Leon closed his laptop. Sarah, did you think about it from their perspective? What perspective? They're scared of false accusations. You tried to get Jake fired. It wasn't false. He had emails. You had feelings. His voice was flat, tired, They're protecting themselves. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm supposed to tell you the truth. We didn't talk the rest of the night. I lay in bed thinking about Tom, my ex from 3 years ago. I'd told everyone he gaslit me. Really, he just asked me to split rent evenly despite me making less. And Ryan before him, I said he didn't do enough emotional labor. He'd asked me to stop venting about work for one night because his mom was sick. The thought came before I could stop it. Am I rewriting things? I pushed it away. I had to. Saturday night, friend group dinner at this upscale casual place downtown. Supposed to celebrate Chris's promotion. Me, Leon, David, my friend since college, Chris, Ethan, Jenny, and Melissa. Drinks flowing. I was tense, but trying to act normal. Conversation drifted. Someone asked about work. I couldn't help it. Launched into the hostile environment at my office. How men were punishing me for speaking up. How fragile they were. Jenny nodded sympathetically. Melissa looked uncomfortable. The guys were quiet. Too quiet. It's like they think we're all just waiting to file HR complaints, I said. Like we're the enemy. It's paranoid. David set down his glass. Hard. The sound made everyone look. Sarah, stop. The table went silent. What? You did file an HR complaint against a guy who had documentation proving you were wrong. That's not... He was dismissive. He had EMA-ILS, Sarah, showing he invited you to meetings, showing your work output was minimal. Everyone's heard about it. My face burned. You're talking about me behind my back? Everyone is, because you're the walking reason guys are terrified at work now. Chris jumped in. My company just banned one-on-one mentoring between senior men and junior women. Completely banned it. You want to know why? I didn't answer. Because 6 months ago, a woman, Keisha, really sweet, said a senior architect looked at her wrong in a closed-door meeting. That's it. A look. They investigated, found nothing, but HR said they couldn't take chances with perception of impropriety. Chris's voice got harder. Tyrone, black guy, been there 9 years, 2 daughters in college, got reassigned. No promotion. Reputation destroyed. He transferred 3 states away just to escape it. Keisha, still there, got promoted last month. Dead silence. Ethan spoke up. I got coffee with a female coworker last month. Just coffee. Her project. Afterward, she sent a follow-up email to both our managers and HR documenting everything. Subject line. Documentation of one-to-one meeting with Ethan per policy. There is no policy. She made a paper trail like I'm a predator. I don't offer to help female colleagues anymore, Ethan continued. Everything stays in email. Door never closes. My girlfriend asked why I'm suddenly so formal at work. How do I explain that being helpful is now legally dangerous? David cut back in. You want to know why men don't take you seriously, Sarah? Because you can end someone's career with one accusation, true or not, and you know it. You tried to do it to Jake. I didn't try to. When it didn't work, you made yourself the victim. You weren't. Jake had receipts. You had feelings. The words hung there. This isn't one incident, David said. Anytime someone challenges you, it's sexism. Anytime you face consequences, you blame men. He looked at Leon. Have you ever asked Leon about his day without making it about yourself? Leon stared at his plate. Leon, tell them that's not true, I said. Leon said nothing. You demand to be taken seriously, but don't hold yourself to the same standards, David continued. Jake invited you to meetings. You declined, then accused him of excluding you. The meetings weren't relevant. You didn't check the agendas. My throat tightened. You're all ganging up on me. We're telling you the truth, Chris said quietly. Someone needs to say it. David's eyes locked on mine. Sarah, we love you. We've been friends since freshman year, but you've become exactly who men are terrified of. Because I'm a woman, because you weaponize it. The guys were nodding, not cruel, just exhausted. Even Jenny wasn't looking at me anymore. So, you're all misogynists now? My voice shook. David's expression softened, but his voice stayed firm. We're your friends telling you the truth. You can call it misogyny if it helps, but that's the problem. You'd rather be right than see what you're doing. What am I doing? I'm calling out actual problems. You're destroying people. David's voice cracked. My dad won't be alone with female students anymore. Door always open. Another teacher present for parent meetings. His colleague got accused 3 years ago of inappropriate comments. They investigated. Found nothing. He paused. Didn't matter. Parents demanded he be moved. He switched schools. Has panic attacks before conferences now? If he didn't do anything wrong, it didn't matter. My dad used to love teaching. Now he's counting down to retirement because one bad day, one misinterpreted joke, and he's done. Silence. That's what you do, David said quietly. I would never. You tried to get Jake fired for having feelings you didn't like. Leon finally looked up. Eyes red. You told me last month I was gaslighting you because I said you weren't listening. I was asking you to let me finish a sentence. My breath caught. That's not... I have it recorded. 'Cause I record everything now. Do you know how messed up that is? That I document my own relationship? You're acting like I'm some monster. You're acting like you can't hurt people, David said. That's worse. The table was suffocating. I stood up, grabbed my purse. Screw all of you. Nobody moved to stop me. I walked out into the cool night, 15 minutes to my apartment. I cried the whole way, tried to text Jenny. Did you hear what they said to me? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. I wanted to text David, we're done, but I couldn't, because somewhere underneath the anger, a small voice asked, what if he's right? I silenced it. Sunday morning, 0 texts from the group. I drafted a long message defending myself, deleted it, wrote another, deleted that too. Leon came over around noon. I thought he'd apologize for not defending me. We need to talk. He looked exhausted, deep, tired. I've been documenting our arguments for 6 months, screenshotting texts, recording conversations. You know I do. I always say, I want to remember this. My stomach turned. Why? Because I watched what you did to Jake. And I realized if we break up badly, you could say I abused you, gaslit you, and who would people believe? I would never. You said Tom gaslit you. I met Tom. He's a normal guy who disagreed with you. You said your boss retaliated against you. She managed your performance. Sarah, you rewrite history to make yourself the victim every single time. You're supposed to support me? I did. For 2 years I've walked on eggshells, apologized for things I didn't do wrong because fighting was exhausting. I can't do it anymore. His voice cracked. Not angry, just done. Are you breaking up with me? I think we need space. He took his toothbrush from the bathroom, his spare clothes, the book on the nightstand. The door closed quietly. I sat on the floor and cried, but through the tears, memories started flooding back. Uninvited, unwanted. That time, I accused him of not caring about my career because he fell asleep during my rant about Jake. He'd worked a 14-hour day. I didn't ask. The time I said he was dismissing my trauma when he suggested my reaction to a co-worker's comment might be disproportionate. I'd called it gaslighting. He'd apologized for 3 days. Last month, when I screamed at him for 20 minutes about forgetting to pick up my prescription, he'd said, I'm sorry, work was crazy and it slipped my mind. I'd told him that was classic emotional neglect. He'd just nodded, tired. So tired. How many times had he started to tell me about his day, only for me to interrupt with my problems? How many times had he bitten back words, carefully rephrased things, walked on those eggshells? I'd seen it as him being supportive, being a good partner. He'd seen it as survival. The realization made me sick. That evening, I drove to my parents' house. My dad's a high school principal. I told him everything. Work, the dinner, Leon. I expected sympathy. "Did you actually do what they're saying?" Dad asked. "I filed a legitimate complaint." "Did you have evidence?" Silence. He sighed. "Last year, one of my teachers, good guy, 20 years, never an issue, got accused by a student of making her uncomfortable. We investigated, found nothing. But parents heard rumors. He transferred schools. His wife says he won't close his classroom door anymore, won't be alone with female students." "That's different." "Is it?" "You couldn't back up your complaint. Now men are protecting themselves. That's not sexism, honey. That's consequence." Mom spoke quietly. "Sarah, in college you said that boy at the party assaulted you. But when we asked for details, you said he pressured you by asking twice if you wanted to leave. You said yes, both times." The memory hit me. I'd forgotten about that, or I'd reframed it over the years into something worse. I went home, opened my laptop, found the screenshots Jake had submitted, the Slack messages, read my own words. Jake is the embodiment of mediocre white guys failing upward. These men are so bloody fragile. I saw it now. The venom. The way I'd talked about colleagues like they were obstacles, not people. My manager had scheduled a performance review meeting for Tuesday. I knew what that meant. A few weeks passed. Eventually I got the news. I was terminated. Performance improvement period ended. Generous severance. Company didn't want legal trouble. Sat in a coffee shop after, laptop open, pretending to browse jobs. Across the room, Jake. He was with a young woman, early 20s. Intern, probably. Explaining something on his laptop, patient and professional. But I noticed things. His laptop screen angled toward the cafe. Door propped open with his backpack. Her phone on the table, recording light visible. I understood. This is what I created. Men protecting themselves while helping women. Witnesses, documentation, public spaces. Jake gets to move forward carefully. I'm unemployed. The unfairness settled in my chest. Real unfairness this time. I was wrong, yes. But he gets to move on. I went home, opened my browser. Wrongful termination lawyer. HR retaliation cases. Started typing an email. I was terminated after filing a good faith complaint about workplace harassment. I believe this was retaliation. My hands hovered. I thought about David's words, Leon's exhaustion, my dad's story, those screenshots. I thought, they were right. I am the problem. Then, but I'm not going down alone. I hit send. The lawyer called 3 days later. Tech company, female employee, recent HR complaint? We might have a case. 3 weeks later. Lying in bed at 2 a.m., I know exactly why men don't take women seriously anymore. I've seen it, caused it, but I can't admit it. Not publicly, not even privately, because admitting it means admitting I destroyed my own life. So I do what I've always done. I open my laptop, start typing. Men will do anything to avoid accountability. Just lost my job for calling out sexism. This is what women face every day in tech. I stop, stare at the screen, delete it, then write it again. My cursor hovers over post. I think about Jake's careful laptop angle, Leon's screenshots, David's face at that dinner, Tim and Marcus whispering, "Just don't be alone with her." I think about the alternative, admitting I was wrong, starting over, actually changing. The cursor blinks. I delete it, not because I won't post it, because I need to be smarter about this. I open a new document, start listing names: Jake, Karen, Michelle, Tim, Marcus. The lawyer said we might have a case. Wrongful termination, retaliation, hostile work environment. I just need the right angle, the right story. Jake's receipts proved I declined meetings, but did anyone ask why? Maybe I felt unsafe. Maybe the boys' club atmosphere made me avoid those spaces. Leon's recordings show our fights, but what about the emotional labor that led to them? The constant microaggressions I had to endure? I know exactly what I'm doing. I've known since that dinner, since my dad's story, since those screenshots. I know why men don't take women like me seriously anymore. Because we can. Because the system protects us. Because one word, one claim, one carefully worded complaint can end them. And they should be scared. I open my phone, text the lawyer, ready to move forward. Let's talk strategy. He responds immediately. Monday, 9 a.m. Bring documentation. I smile. They think I learned my lesson. I did. Just not the one they wanted.